Hello, my name is Olin Mitchell.
Where and when were you born?
I was born in Sturt, Oklahoma in December the 9th, 1921.
So, how old are you right now?
I am 98 and a half.
Do you feel like you're 98?
No, not really.
How old do you feel?
Well, I feel like I'm about 75 or 80.
How old do you feel?
Oh, I would say 70s, in the 70s.
Physically, what is it like to be 98?
Well, physically is a little different story. There's a number of things that I can't do now that I used to do in regards to walking and setting and athletics, and so those things you have to give up and accomplish something else. But physically, and I feel really good.
And what branch of the military were you in during World War II?
I was in the infantry as a foot soldier, rifleman.
What division, regiment, and company were you in during your time overseas?
I was in Company L, 337th Regiment of the 85th Division,
And what was the 85th Division known as?
the Custer Division.
You mentioned that your specific role, you were a rifleman.
That's right.
What was the highest rank you achieved by the time you left the service?
Sergeant. But the Germans, the territory was in favor of the Germans because they were always on the high, looking down at us. And at least what experience I had while I was there, they always had the upper hand because they was always in the high places.
What do you remember about the first firefight you got into?
Well, I was just confused. I didn't know what was going on. I was scared. The person that tells you that he isn't scared, he's not much help to you because you don't know, and it's I don't know how to explain it. It's not a good feeling because you know that you just can't imagine when your time is coming. You can be in a car wreck or something like that, but it doesn't pry on you all day. But 20 minutes from now, you could be gone. And a lot of things go through your mind.
Like what?
Oh, what's going to happen to you? I can recall when I got hit. I think before I hit the ground, I wondered if I was going to get to come back home. If I was bad enough that I was going to get to come back home. And I didn't know how bad I was. And everything worked out good. I was one of the fortunate ones. And I was treated good, and they got to me immediately. And a matter of fact, where I got hit, we were cleaning out a railroad tunnel that was 5 miles long at Terracina, Italy. And when we went in there about sundown, and it got dark by the time when I got wounded, we backtracked, and they said they left me with the medic, and they were going to go get a Jeep to take me back to the Evacuation hospital, which was just a tent. And they left this medic with me. And I told him at the time I got hit, please don't send the medic up. He was bringing up the rear of the squad because I evidently went over a high place, and that's where they caught me. And I knew they would do the same to him, but he didn't do it. He came on up, and he wanted to dress my wound, and he wanted to put the white bandage around my head because I had a wound through the mouth, jaw. And I said, no, I'd rather you wouldn't do that because that white bandage is a perfect target for whoever's got me in their sight. And so he didn't. And we moved back out of there, and they left the medic with me. By that time it was dark. They brought the Jeep up, put me in the Jeep, took me back to the evacuation hospital. I was on a cot with several others. And what they did to me, I don't know. They asked me, if the medic, my medic asked me if I wanted a shot of morphine. And I said, I'll take whatever you got. The stronger the better. And so anyway, I got some back there, and I was in this evacuation hospital, as I recall or remember, probably 3 days. What they did, I don't know, because I was incoherent most of the time and out. And a little sidetrack of that was I kept hearing somebody very broken English talking. And I thought it was, I thought I'd been captured, because I almost did, because while they were waiting on the Jeep, I wanted to get out of there. And so I told this medic, I said, let's go on back and meet him. And he said, no, I don't know the way out of here. And I said, well, I know the way. Yeah, I'll tell you how to get out of here. Of course, I couldn't talk very good. And we started, and we had taken the wrong trail. It was just trail moving up into cattle trails. And we could hear the Germans talking. So we knew we were on the wrong road, wrong track, and so we went back. Well, when I came to in the evacuation hospital tent, it was a German officer that we had captured, and he'd been wounded, and they had him in there patching him up. And so as I got better, I cranked up a little conversation with him, and he told me that he'd been on the Russian front and wounded 4 times. And he told me that he prayed every day. Every day he prayed that he wouldn't have to go back to the Russian front. That if he got wounded or shot, he wanted to be by the Americans, because the Russians had no mercy on German prisoners. And so I asked him about Hitler, naturally, and he said, well, he's just our commander. He's just another person like Roosevelt. Like Roosevelt, he says this to you. So that was about the end of the conversation there, because then I was moved out, and he no doubt was moved to a prisoner of war somewhere. So then I was moved back to a regular hospital in Caserta.
You're doing great. Could you just add to that story the actual part of how you were wounded? You know, the bullet through the cheek and through the mouth. And so just explain, you know, what you were actually doing and where you got hit.
Well, with a location where I got hit, we probably were getting close to the mouth of the tunnel. And we could have, as I understood it, we could have just blown the tunnel shut, but it was a railroad tunnel, and the Germans had been using it to transport material and personnel. Well, we could do the same thing if we didn't blow it up, because we were advancing north. And so it was real brushy in there, and we could see a few tracers coming in. So we knew we were getting close, but we really couldn't see the enemy. And about that time, I caught one in the left cheek, and I didn't know just what it was. It was so sudden and so painless that it just felt like a slap in the face. And of course, I hit the ground. It knocked me down. And I felt around up there because it was all numb. And then I knew where it had gone, but I didn't know what it did. And that's when I called to the boy behind me to pass word back not to send the medic up, because they'd nail him if he came up there. Well, he came on up anyway, and we backed out. My whole squad backed out. And but that was the feeling of it. And it was numb. And then, of course, he gave me codeine, I imagine. And so I got along pretty good. I just recall them putting me in the back of that Jeep, and my steel helmet had come off, and they had threw it back in the Jeep, and darn if they didn't throw it right on me again on that steel helmet. Yeah, but it was okay. But I recall that.
What did you find out when it comes to the extent of your injuries?
Well, in evacuation hospital, I really didn't know, and I didn't know what they were doing. It was very temporary. And then I was loaded on a truck or an ambulance with some others and taken back to this hospital in Caserta, which was a big size hospital. And there I was in a dormitory with about 40 others. I don't know how many people were in there, but on the floor that I was on, it had been a palace, and Mussolini had used it. And anyway, they wheeled me to the. At that time, I couldn't walk. I mean, I didn't have the energy to walk, and they'd wheel me over to the dentist in a wheelchair. And about all he did, he told me, was clean it out as good as he could. And he told me, you lost a lot of bone joints. And he said, all we can do is more or less seal it, and we'll do what we can for it, and that's about it. And about every second or third day, they'd take me over to him. And so after a while, he told me, he said, you need to shave before you came over here. And I said, well, sir, I don't have a razor. I lost everything. I was up at the front. And he knew I was at the front, I guess. And he said, I know that, but you stop at the Red Cross and get your razor and shave before you come. I said, okay. So I thought, well, you know, they're not going to fire me from this job, and I don't know what they're going to do with me, so I'm not going to shave. And so I'd go back again, and he said, did you get a razor? And I said, no, I didn't get a razor. So he says to the boy that wheeled me over in a wheelchair, which was a prisoner, he says, you take him back with the barber shop when you take him back to his dormitory and get him a shave. And I went back to the barber shop, and the barbers were prisoners. And he was shaving me with one of them old straight blade razors, and I could just see him cutting my throat. And I have not ever had a shave from a barber till this day. So I went and got a razor after that. So that was part of it. And then to continue with it, I was in there probably 2 weeks. And one night about 11 o'clock, we all slept bunk by bunk, 40. There's about 40 of us in there. Slept under, we sleeping under netting because of mosquitoes and stuff. And the lights all came on about midnight. And here come a string of doctors, 5 or 6 doctors, and they were moving from bunk to bunk. And as they did, they would pick up your chart and look at it and write something on it. And we thought, what in the world is going on here? Nobody had which is typical of the Army, you don't have any idea what's going on. Well, when they got to my bunk, they picked up my chart, and the doctor looked at it and he marked ZI on my chart. I immediately knew I was coming back to the States because ZI indicates zone of interior. And so they cleaned out. The 5th Army was moving into this hospital for the 5th Army headquarters. And they moved everybody out of that hospital with the exception of brain cases. And they moved them down to another floor. So therefore, I think I probably caught a hospital ship sooner than I ordinarily would. And a couple of weeks later, I just loafed there till they took me to Naples, and I loaded on this hospital ship. I don't know how many others, it wasn't a big one. And we were 14 days from, we didn't know where we were going. We were 14 days from Naples, Italy to Charleston, South Carolina. Stark General Hospital in Charleston, South Carolina. There we landed on the 4th of July of 1944, and they wouldn't unload us until the 5th. We went into Stark General. They checked us over again there, cleaned my mouth. In my case, they cleaned my mouth up I got on a hospital train, and I knew where I was going then, because I failed to tell you, but on this hospital ship, they came around one day and they said they fill out this form, and one question was, where do you want to be sent? And I took issue with it. And I said, anytime in the Army you tell them where you want to be sent, they send you the opposite place. And they said, no, there's a reason for this. The Army has decided, or the government military has decided, that you'll recover much faster if you take your treatments close to your home, so you can be close to your family. So I lived in Hutchinson. Santa Fe Railroad run from Hutchinson to Topeka, Kansas, and Winter General Hospital was in Topeka. So I put down Topeka and Winter General. 2 or 3 days later, they came back and they said, we're sorry, but we can't send you to Winter General. I said, that's what I was afraid of. They said, no, there's a reason for that. Winter General is a bone and joint hospital. You have to go to plastic surgery hospital. And Springfield, Missouri, or O'Reilly General Hospital is where you'll be. So from Charleston or from the ship, when we docked at Charleston, I knew where I'd be going. So the hospital train took me to Springfield, Missouri.
And could you just show the camera, Mr. Mitchell, where did the bullet actually enter and where did it exit?
Well, it went in the left cheek, almost the center of the cheek. I imagine it was flopping around in there because it took almost everything out and exited the right cheek, just at the corner of the mouth. And I don't have any bone structure above. And yeah, it did. And
did it take out some of the actual teeth?
oh, all of them, yeah. What they didn't take out, it tore up. I think I had 2 back teeth that it left, molars, and they took those out to put in false teeth.
How long have you had false teeth?
Oh, I've had false teeth since that day, since they made them. And see, when I got to Raleigh General, they began to clean everything up, and what was bad, they took out, because a lot of teeth were just broken off, all snaggled up. And so they cleaned all that up, and then they did this plastic surgery. And I was in the hospital 9 months, and they did the plastic surgery, and after they got that like the doctor wanted it, the dentist started making teeth for me. And he didn't have too much trouble with the lowers, because your lower plates, as everybody knows, just kind of lays there. And there wasn't enough ridge left for them. The uppers would not stay in. They kept falling down. And so what they did, they cut up under my upper lip, up under my nose. My dentures go way up to here. They cut that out and packed that with absorbent, with cotton or gauze that had been absorbed with some fluid, so it wouldn't grow back. And then they made me a set of uppers, and I've had probably 15 to 18 sets of teeth since I've been out, because it keeps changing from time to time, because there's not much bone structure, and so if the muscle changes, they have to make me another set of teeth, and that was about it.
What were some of the biggest difficulties of living a life with dentures from such a young age?
Well, it was bad, but you know, I looked at it like this. I was so grateful that if I had to have that, it went in where it did. Because if it had been any other location, as far as the head is concerned, it would have been curtains. If it had been up, it'd been down, it'd have been back. So really, I was very fortunate. And to only pay a price for dentures, which ordinarily you sometimes will as you get an older age anyway. Hasn't been comfortable, but it's all worked good for me. So
That's kind of what I meant. Can you talk about the comfort of dentures for people who don't wear dentures? Can you explain what it's like, wearing them? Because yours they're not permanent, right? You take them out.
oh yes, yes, that's one of the disadvantages to them is they're not as handy to keep up as your regular teeth. They're not as good as your regular teeth. Don't let them, if you can possibly keep your regular teeth, do it. But yes, they're not, you can't clean them as well, and you'll get stuff under the plates, and they'll cause sore spots, and it's just not an everyday occurrence that you don't have any tooth trouble. And but I've been fortunate, and since that time, my uppers caused more trouble than anything else. But since they made that adjustment, it works pretty good. And the lowers, the military will not put inserts in. And since they've come out with inserts the last few years, I wanted some, so I had them put in myself. And they're really great. They really work.
What are inserts?
Inserts are little prongs like this that they screw into the lower bone, and they stick up just like that. They're sharp, and they stick up, and then they put holes and little deals in your lower plate, and you clamp them on there, and they don't move around. Because your lowers, all they do is just lay there. There's nothing to, or your uppers, if everything's okay, you got good suction to keep those. And so these inserts, they are really nice, and I've got a good dentist that takes care of them.
But back in the 40s, before they had the inserts, how would you have your lower?
They just lie there. They just lay there.
No kind of glue?
No. Well, you can get adhesive, but it doesn't. It works good on the uppers, but doesn't work much on the bottom. The bottom, usually, people will tell you with dentures, the lowers cause you the trouble.